Yo guys, what is going on? It has been a while, but I am back with some deck profiles here. I got BloomLord for you guys in case you are fellow green players like myself and you want a deck to kind of distract you about the fact that Cross Heart's a tier 0 deck. But this deck is really competent. I think it's a pretty solid strategy, really budget too. I want to say the only kind of expensive cards in here are Mimi. So if you're playing on a budget, that's really good. Really cool mechanics. So we'll kind of talk about the card choices, the combos and stuff like that. So yeah guys, let's go ahead and get into it, of course starting with the eggs. Realistically, you can play pretty much whatever green egg you want. I'm just playing 4 copies of Chimeramon here because I really think one of this deck's biggest weaknesses is going to be the consistency and the lack of draw power, really. Another egg, probably the only other egg I would play is going to be the Argomon Baby that gives you a +1 memory whenever you unsuspend during your unsuspend phase. I think this card's a lot better if you have ways to kind of suspend your opponent's Digimon, which another aspect of this deck that's lacking is kind of the control of it. It's really just more of a board spam in an OTK deck, so I've kind of I have some techie cards in here that kind of help with that. But anyways, let's get on to the level 3. So of course, playing 4 copies of the new BT10 Palmon. This is the best searcher in the deck. Has the effect where on play you get to reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 card with Vegetation or Plant, and then 1 card with Fairy. So it's a double searcher. Your BloomLord is going to be your Fairy target. Also, the new BT10 Lotusmon is also a Fairy, I believe. I'm not actually playing that, but Lotusmon is another really powerful level 6 you could definitely consider. So this is a +2, is really strong. We also have 2 copies of the old Palmon, the BT1 Palmon, all the way back to the first set. This card has the on play, reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck. Add 1 level 4 Digimon card from amongst them to your hand. So that one can actually search any level 4 that I'm playing in the deck. This one's really good, of course, because again it's a vegetation, so not only is most of the deck searchable off the first Palmon, but this also being able to play this out from hand for free and then getting a search off of it with some of your cards that you got is really solid. So that's going to be the Palmons here. For the other level 3, playing 4 copies of Mushroomon. This guy, again, is just a vegetation. You really need the type in this deck. It's very important. He's also at 2 cost, though that hasn't really been relevant since like BT5. But having a 2 cost can come in handy sometimes, I guess. Being able to like put a champion on the board for 3. But again, just because he's a vegetation is really the main reason. And then lastly, the last vegetation we got here is one of your floodgates is going to be 2 copies of Palmmon. I'm not playing Terriermon in this list. You could definitely make room for it, but again, it's slightly less consistent because it's not searchable by like your vegetation support cards. So this one is, and then this also is a floodgate where players can't play Digimon via effects. So this stops Cross Heart from playing their Darulamon, their Ballistamons off of their Tamer effects. It stops Mastimon. It stops a lot of those sort of decks, Imperial Dramon, etc. So this is really good. Minerva Loop. So this is a really good floodgate overall. And for the level 4 Digimon, we are playing, of course, the new Sunflowmon here, 4 copies of Sunflowmon. So 2 really cool effects. I think the second one is much more relevant most of the time. The first one is when Digivolving, you can play a Digimon card with Vegetation, Plant, or Fairy that has 3000 DP or less from your hand without paying the memory cost just by suspending one of your Digimon. And suspending your own Digimon is kind of the whole gimmick of this deck. You can also choose itself for that effect. So you can just like Digivolve on level 3, effect, suspend, play another Vegetation, Plant, or Fairy, which of course this counts for that as well. So you can maybe play a lot of champions in this deck that are 3000 DP or less, as well as Vegetation, like have the correct type. So that's really cool. So 4 copies of Sunflowmon. And then keeping that trend up is going to be 4 copies of Red Vegiemon. For starters, he is a vegetation. Again, the stat line 3000 DP coincides with the effects of Sunflowmon, as well as Ayataramon, who we'll get to later. And then the fact that he is also a 1-2 evolve is really strong. Actually pretty relevant in this deck. So that's nice. Very memory efficient. And then for the other ones, I think these are the essential cards for BloomLords. The other 4 slots are pretty flexible. For me, I am playing 2 copies of Exermon for a couple reasons. So first of all, this guy is a Shivamon support card. He's an Insectoid, so not searchable, but he has the effect of when Digivolving, you may suspend one of your Digimon to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So this does 2 things. For one, it suspends one of your guys, which sets up for your BloomLord Bloomelord, and can trigger stuff like your Sunflowmon inherited, your Ayatarmon inherited, etc. And then also suspends one of your opponent's Digimon to have that element of board control where you can run over their Digimon with your big guys, piercing with the Bloomlord, stuff like that. So this guy, I think, offers a lot of utility. And then lastly, just playing 2 copies of Metal Kabuterimon. Hybrid free game, still really, really strong. I prefer this in a lot of the green decks, like the green 1-stack decks, because you can evolve it on a level 4. So if you're maybe bricking or you just want to cycle more cards, you can maybe do something like evolve a red Vegemon and then evolve Metal Kabuterimon on top of it, or even in the off chance you have 2 of them, you can evolve it on itself to like actually get its on Digivolve effect. But this can just be like any hybrid. I was actually considering Petal-Dramon, because Petal-Dramon is actually a searchable hybrid off of the Palmon. It is a vegetation. The downside being, of course, that it's 3 to evolve, except when you evolve on Tamer, then it's 2, but for the most part, it's pretty expensive. Okay, so for the level 4s, we are going to be playing 4 copies of Ayatarmon. This guy is really, really powerful. So he's got a similar effect to the Sunflowmon, except not when it's Sunflowmon is one Digivolving. This guy is main once per turn. But other than that, it reads the exact same. So you get to just once per turn spit out any of your guys. And then, of course, during your turn, once per turn, when an effect suspends one of your Digimon, you get to gain a memory. So that inherited is really, really powerful with the Bloomlord, guys. I'll talk about that once we get to our combos, but essentially being able to suspend your own Digimon via your own effects, it triggers this to gain you back the memory. And then now for the probably one of the best cards in this deck is going to be 4 copies of Blossomon. Digisorption, I think, is going to make a solid comeback with this deck. This card really has not been played in a very long time, but Digisorption 3, effectively, when one of your Digimon digivolves into this card from your hand, you can suspend one of your Digimon to reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 3, effectively making this a 0-cost level 5 just by suspending one of your own Digimon, which of course includes like your own guy, like the guy who you're Digivolving. So if you got like a Metal Kabuterimon that's just on the field, you can suspend it, Digivolve this over it for 0, and then being able to unsuspend with the Bloomlord is the really, really powerful thing. So of course it's also vegetation, so that's why I'm playing this over something like Argomon level 5. Argomon, you can play, I don't think you need more than 4 Digisorbers in this deck, and then he's also a mutant, so it's not searchable. So anyways, this is fine. And then lastly, for the last level 5 here, I am playing 1 copy of Chimeramon. This card is really, really powerful. I've tried out a little bit more. I think 2 is the max I would play, but these 2 I think are too powerful to not play it for. So I think just 1 as an extender is really good. This guy lets you... like, it takes advantage of the fact that you a lot of times spit out like red Vegemons and Sunflowmons from your Ayatarmon effects, as well as the Sunflowmon to play like 3000 DP or lower, and then you can just immediately fuse them to make a Chimeramon that can attack immediately, and then you go into a Bloomlord, unsuspend, attack again, and then check 2 cards. So this card can be really, really crazy in practice. So now for the boss monsters, I am of course playing the 4 copies of BloomLordmon. This is pretty much the level 6 you want to see every single time you're making your board. Very rarely you might consider playing some other level 6s. I am actually playing 1 other level 6 in this deck. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think the main mega slot here is not flexible. I think you have to play for Bloomlord. He has 2 really crazy effects. Of course, first of all, when Digivolving, you may suspend one of your Digimon, and then you gain 1 memory for each suspended Digimon with Vegetation, Plant, Fairy in the traits that you have in play. If you gain 2 or more with this effect, you get to unsuspend this Digimon, and it gains Piercing for the turn. So that's really, really powerful. And then during your turn, if you have, for each 2 suspended Digimon you have in play, the Digimon gets plus 2000, and a sec attack plus 1 is really, really strong. Now, there's a couple things to keep in mind with that. So, like, let's say, for instance, you have, like, a level 5 here, and then you've maybe got, like, another suspended Blossomon or something. You got, like, this field, and then you're going to evolve into your Bloomlord for a cost of 4, and then you're going to use this effect, suspend one of your Digimon, and then now since you have 2 or more suspended Digimon, you have 2, you're going to gain 2 memory. Since you gain 2 or more memory with the effect, you're going to unsuspend this, gain Piercing, and then be able to swing at your opponent's security. And then in this scenario, remember that this second part, your turn, is a continuous effect, so it constantly checks whether this condition is met or not. So at this point right now, you don't have 2 or more suspended, but when you declare your attack, you will then have 2 suspended Digimon, so the BloomLord will gain 2000 DP as well as Sec Attack +1. So really powerful stuff there, guys. So definitely for BloomLord is the way to go. And then for the other Mega, I am playing 2 copies of Argomon level 6. Now, there's basically there's like 2 other Megas I would consider to play. So I think you should either play Argomon level 6, you should either play this or BT4 Nidhogg, that bottom deck's 5,000s or lower, all suspended Digimon and whatever, or the BT4 Lotusmon, the one that when you or your opponent plays a level 4 Digimon, you get to just suspend it, like not once per turn. Just anything that's played that's level 4 or lower is suspended. The main reason for these cards is this is like your cross-heart counter kind of slot. Argomon level 6 here, first of all, reads Digisorption 2, so that already just makes you more memory efficient. He has the 1 Digivolving effect of suspending all your opponent's Tamer, and then all turns, your opponent's Tamers don't unsuspend. So we saw this was pretty popular in hybrid format. I think it's going to make a resurgence here if you're playing green because of the prominence of Crossheart and Blue Flare on these Tamer-reliant decks. If you suspend your opponent's Taikis and their Crossheart Tamers, they're not going to be able to unsuspend them with like the Cross 4 effect, and they won't be able to hit you multiple times per turn. So this can save you a lot of security. Again, still really good against the hybrid deck, maybe if you're playing against yellow hybrid or whatever. Blue Flare, same thing, they won't be able to unsuspend the Kiriha to be able to constantly like use it for the Digicross. So this card's really solid. Like I said, the Lotusmon does similar things where it's just a floodgate against those decks where like if your opponent plays a cross 4, it gets suspended immediately, so they won't be able to like attack with it. Nidhogg, again, similar thing, but in that sense, it's just a lot of removal, where you're bottom decking your opponent's Digimon so it doesn't trigger like on deletions, or maybe your opponent's armor purges, or like material save or stuff like that. So this slot is really flexible. I like Argomon, but you can really play whatever level 6 you want in there. For the Tamers and option cards, 3 copies of the Queen Mimi herself. Mimi just overall, like one of the best Tamers in the game, been relevant since the start of the game, I think going to be relevant until the end. This card, just being able to have a memory setter and then constantly spitting out guys, being able to suspend her, getting another breeding phase, being able to effectively have rush if you've got 2 Mimis in play is really strong. This just helps you like be more aggressive with your plays and push. We saw this in Green Coagumon, Green OTK / Grandis, so this is still really good. And then memory boosts are also really broken in this format because no one's playing memory blockers, and then this doesn't count towards Death X, so it's a card that you can keep on field that you don't have to worry about Death X. So this card, just really good for consistency. You want to see this every single game. You want to open it. You want to see it in security. Being able to go to 5. Having this in security, hitting the delay effect is broken. Being able to play from hand, getting a search is broken. Like memory boosts, I think are just going to be played in like a lot of different decks going forward in this format. Just for many reasons, they can't be removed off the field. Don't count towards Death X. Just extra really good consistency cards. And the last option cards we're playing here, I'm playing 2 copies of Grand del Sol. This card is a really powerful removal. So it says when you would use this card, if you have 2 or more suspended green Digimon in play, reduces cost by 2. So effectively becomes a 6 cost if you've done your whole like BloomLord combo. You basically get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon and then return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of the deck. The security effect does the same exact thing. So being able to have a non-destroying removal that just you don't really have to worry about like Terror Cluster, for example, does a similar thing, but it's a 7 cost, but it doesn't suspend the Digimon first. It just has to be a suspended Digimon, so it's usually only good after your opponent's attacked you or if they're hitting security. This is just like always good. Just always being able to bottom deck something is really strong, and if you do have the 2 in play, it becomes a 6 cost bottom deck effectively, which is really broken. Getting around material save, getting around all those pesky effects that you don't want to trigger is really nice. So I think this is a really strong defensive card. And then lastly, for the 1-ofs, 1 HBD because this card is just broken in this deck, and then 1 Samadhi Santi. Again, I wanted just more interaction with my opponent, so this is nice for buying yourself a turn and then being able to trigger like your Sunflamon and Ayataramon and stuff makes this free. Is really nice. So just another card to be able to like run your opponent's Digimon over with is really nice. So guys, that's going to do it for the list. Let's just talk about a couple of the combos. There's not too many to really talk about, but I do just want to mention a couple of like maybe rulings or just like how the cards kind of work. So let's say you've got a field like this, for example. So let's say you've got your Chimeramon on field. Maybe you've used its main effect to suspend itself to play a red Digimon from your hand, and then you're going to immediately Digivolve this into a BloomLord for a cost of 4. So you're going to pay 4 memory, and then what I'm specifically wanting to talk about is this interaction. Just keep in mind, when you evolve BloomLord, you trigger his 1 Digivolving effect. Okay, so then now he has his 1 Digivolving effect, and he also still has this Chimeramon inherited as soon as he hits the board. So when Digivolving, I'll suspend one of my Digimon, and then I'm going to gain 2 memory since I have 2 suspended guys, and then I'm going to unsuspend because of BloomLord's effect, and then gain piercing for the turn. Chimearamon's effect will then trigger because it did see the suspending of the red Digimon. So I've had actually a couple scenarios where people weren't sure about like this, like does this count towards like this effect, BloomLord's own effect, and yes it does, because by the time you're activating his 1 Digivolving, this thing is already on top of the Chimeramon, so it already has the inherited effect. It basically, like, as soon as this comes down, it sees the suspending because it happens afterwards. Okay, so that's one thing I want to kind of talk about. Another cool thing you can do, like I said, maybe if you've got like the Chimeramon play, you've got like Chimeramon, you maybe got like a red Digimon already on play, and then you could do like something like maybe you got 2 red veggies, so you could do something like maybe this is your hand. You could like suspend your Chimeramon to play a red Digimon from your hand, and then you can go like, if you got multiple BloomLords is the sauce. I'm telling you guys, this card like goes crazy. Like if you do this, you Digivolve this, maybe suspend this, and then you're going to gain 1, 2, 3 memory, so you're effectively evolving for this for 1. So even if you were at 1 when this happened, you're evolving this for 1, and you're gonna swing, check 2, whatever, and then what you could maybe do is you could then Digivolve these 2 guys into a Chimeramon, stick something underneath them. Maybe you got like a Palmon or something, or even in that case, you can always look through your trash for other really powerful inheritors, maybe like another Chimeramon, and go into the second BloomLord's effect. You'll gain 3 once again, effectively evolving it for 1 once again, swing again, and that is just gonna keep steamrolling. And if you've got like 3 suspended Digimon, you can basically evolve it for free in this scenario. So there's a lot of situations, guys, where you have got a lot of really powerful plays. You can also do similar things with like HBD as well as like Blossomon. Like let's say if you've got like a level 3 on field, like I can just bring this out. Like let's say I promote this, Digivolve for 1, Digivolve for 0, and then maybe I've got like another dude on field. I can like suspend this with HPD, evolve this for 0, and then gain 2 memory, attack immediately. And so there's just a lot of really, really good memory conservation in this deck. Being able to have access to the Blossomon, having access to HPD, just makes this really, really broken. But of course, the problem I think is just being able to draw into all these cards, which is why I like cards like Sunflamon as well as Pinamon in the deck. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed BloomLord. I think it's a really, really cool deck, and hopefully you guys think so as well. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.